So, Borderlands 4. The launch was, let's just say, a little rocky. To try and smooth things over, the publisher released an official guide with some pretty big performance promises. Today, we're going to dive in and see if those promises actually hold up for one of the most popular GPUs out there, the RTX 3060 Ti.
And this is the big question, right? For so many of us PC gamers. The publisher is flat out promising a smooth 60 frames per second experience on this card. But can it actually pull it off when the action gets heavy? Well, let's find out. Okay, so with tons of players complaining about performance right after launch, 2K did something pretty useful. They published a super detailed optimization guide. It breaks down exactly what settings to use for a bunch of different graphics cards to hit specific performance targets.
And they weren't shy about their promises either. When it comes to our card, the RTX 3060 Ti, the guide says it loud and clear, quoting them directly, you should expect 60 FPS. No ifs, ands, or buts. This slide really lays out the whole conflict. On one side, you've got this official promise of a buttery smooth 60 FPS experience. And on the other, the reality that a ton of players faced at launch, which was, a stuttery, inconsistent mess. Our whole goal here is to see if this guide is the magic bullet that bridges that gap.
All right, so to really put this claim to the test, we had to do it right. We couldn't just guess. We needed to recreate their testing environment as perfectly as we possibly could, from the hardware to the in-game settings.
So here's the rig. The main event, of course, is that NVIDIA RTX 3060 Ti. But look what it's paired with. A beast of a CPU in the Ryzen 9 5900X, plus 32 gigs of fast RAM. So trust me, there is absolutely no way the CPU is going to be a bottleneck here. All the pressure is on the GPU. As for the game itself, we follow that guide to the absolute letter. We're running at 1080p with NVIDIA's DLSS upscaling set to the quality preset. And here's a really key detail they pointed out. You have to use dedicated full screen mode. Apparently, it just delivers a much more stable and consistent performance compared to borderless windowed.
Now, this is where our little investigation took a really weird turn. This was not as simple as just firing up the game and checking the numbers. We ran into a very unexpected and honestly kind of bizarre problem right out of the gate.
So even with all those optimal settings perfectly dialed in, that first time we launched the game, it was terrible. A complete stutter fest, exactly like the performance issues people were screaming about at launch. My first thought was, well, that's it then. The guide doesn't work. But I was wrong. This is where it gets crazy. The fix wasn't some hidden setting. It was more like a strange ritual. After seeing all the stutters, we had to quit the game completely, relaunch it, and then just let it sit on the main menu for a full 15 minutes. It sounds absolutely bonkers, I know, but it worked. After doing that, the game was dramatically smoother. The best guess is that it's forcing the game to finish compiling all its shaders in the background, even though it never tells you it's doing it.
So, with that very strange shader problem finally sorted out, it was time for the moment of truth. After all of that, after jumping through those weird hoops, did the publisher's recommended settings actually deliver that magic number?
And the answer is, yeah, it actually does. Believe it or not, after that 15-minute wait, the average frame rate hovered right around the 60 FPS mark that they promised. So if we're only talking about the average, then yeah, their claim holds up. But you and I both know that average never tells the whole story, does it? The number that really matters is the 1% lows. That's your frame rate during the most intense moments. And that's where we see performance frequently dipping down into the mid-40s. So while it averages 60, it is not a locked 60 FPS experience. You are definitely going to feel those stutters. So why the dips? Well, a very likely culprit is the VRAM. This game is incredibly hungry for video memory. With these settings, it's pushing right up against that 8GB ceiling on the 3060 Ti. And when a game hits that limit, that's when you get those jarring stutters during heavy action. It's a classic bottleneck. Okay, so let's wrap all this up. What does this actually mean for you? If you're sitting at home with a similar PC just trying to get Borderlands 4 to run well, let's break it down into a clear, simple action plan.
Here's what you need to do. First, yes, use those official settings from the guide. They're a fantastic place to start. Second, and I can't stress this enough, make sure you're in true full screen mode. Third, and this is the big weird one, if you're getting awful stutters, try that 15-minute main menu trick. Fourth, just manage your expectations. You'll get an average close to 60, but you will see dips. And finally, it really seems like having a CPU with 8 or more cores helps a lot with minimizing those big frame drops.
So there you have it. The publisher's claim is technically true, but with some massive, very weird asterisks next to it. You can get that 60 FPS average, but you might have to perform a strange ritual to get there, and you still have to live with some noticeable frame drops. And that brings us to our final question for you. How is Borderlands 4 running on your machine? We'd love to hear about your own experiences.